You are standing in the ruins of your own performance. The mask has cracked. The facade you worked so hard to maintain has finally fallen. The silent leak we talked about in part 3, it has drained your energy until there was nothing left to give. You have finally admitted that you are not okay, that you're struggling, that you've been pretending for so long that you forgot what real felt like. And now you feel exposed. You feel fragile. You feel vulnerable in a way that terrifies you. You feel broken. Most people see this as the end. They look at the pieces of their life scattered on the floor, the failed relationship, the lost job, the shattered dream, the mask that finally cracked, and they see worthlessness. They see the shards and believe the vessel can never be beautiful again, that it's ruined, that they are ruined. But in the Stillness Smithy, we look at the wreckage with different eyes. In the forge, we know that you cannot reshape iron that is already cold and rigid. You cannot transform metal that is already hardened into its final form. To create a masterpiece, the metal must first lose its form. It must be broken down by the heat before it can be built into something greater. Your brokenness is not a disaster. It is not the end of your story. It is your malleable moment. It is the moment when transformation becomes possible, because you are finally soft enough to be reshaped. In the 15th century, Japanese artisans discovered a way to honor the break. When a precious tea bowl was shattered, when it fell from the shelf or slipped from trembling hands, they didn't throw it away. They didn't declare it worthless. They didn't bury it in shame. And they didn't try to hide the cracks with invisible glue, pretending the break never happened, hoping no one would notice the flaws. Instead, they did something revolutionary. They mixed a special lacquer with powdered gold. They carefully filled every crack, every fracture, every broken seam with this golden paste. They treated the damage not as something to hide, but as something to highlight. They called it Kintsugi, golden joinery. And here's what they understood, something the modern world has completely forgotten. The history of the object, the fact that it had fallen, survived, and been repaired, made it more beautiful and more valuable than it ever was when it was perfect. A brand new bowl, flawless and untouched, was just a bowl. But a bowl that had been broken and mended with gold, that was a story. That was a testament. That was proof of resilience. The crack was no longer a sign of failure. It was the proof of a life lived. It was a scar of honor. It was evidence that this object, this person, this soul, had been tested by the world and had survived. The porcelain was weak. It could shatter again. But the gold that held it together? That was unbreakable. The bowl was now stronger at the broken places than it ever was when it was whole. How do you apply the gold to your own life? How do you take the brokenness, the cracks, the failures, the moments you wish you could erase, and turn them into something beautiful? You start by replacing the mask of performance with the iron of integrity. Integrity is the gold that fills the cracks. It is the decision to stop hiding your history, to stop pretending you were never broken, to stop airbrushing your past. It is the courage to say, I failed here. I was hurt here. I am struggling here. This is where I fell. This is where I was betrayed. This is where I lost everything. When you stop pretending, when you stop holding the mask together with sheer willpower, the energy you were using to maintain the performance is suddenly returned to you. You stop the leak we identified in part 3. You close the gap. You begin to heal the short circuit. You stop wasting 50% of your power pretending to be okay, and you can finally use 100% of your energy to actually become whole. In the forge, we don't throw away the iron that bends. We don't discard the metal that breaks under pressure. That would be wasteful. That would be foolish. We add more carbon. We fold it into the structure. We heat it again. We hammer it harder, at the exact point where it failed. We make it stronger at the break. Your scars are not your shame. They are your credentials. They are the proof that you have been through the fire, and you are still here. They are the evidence that life struck you, and you refuse to stay down. The person who has never been broken doesn't understand strength. The person who has never failed doesn't understand resilience. The person who has never had their heart shattered doesn't understand love. Your cracks, filled with the gold of truth, of integrity, of hard-won wisdom, make you more valuable, not less. This is part 4 of the porcelain prison. And here is the profound truth we've been building toward. The prison walls, the ones we talked about in part 1, are made of your fear of being seen as less than perfect, your fear of being exposed, your fear of being judged, your fear that if people knew the real you, the broken you, the struggling you, the imperfect you, they would reject you. But once you embrace the gold, once you stop hiding the cracks and start honoring them, the walls become a fortress. The world cannot break a man who has already been broken and put himself back together. You become anti-fragile. You become a masterpiece of resilience. You become someone who doesn't fear the fall, because you've already survived it. Stop looking for a new life. Stop wishing you could go back to who you were before the break. Stop trying to erase your history. Start forging a whole one, a life that includes the cracks, a life that honors the scars, a life where your brokenness is not hidden, but highlighted in gold. Tonight, before you sleep, stop judging your shards. Stop looking at the broken pieces of your life with shame. Stop wishing they didn't exist. Stop trying to sweep them under the rug. Pick up the brush. Mix the lacquer. Prepare to pour the gold. Look at where you failed, and see it as the place where you learned. Look at where you fell, and see it as the place where you got back up. Look at where you were broken, and see it as the place where you became unbreakable. The cracks are not the end of your story. They are the most beautiful part of it. One day, time will leave you. Make sure it leaves, knowing you didn't hide your history. Make sure it leaves, knowing you didn't spend your life pretending to be perfect. You spent it becoming whole. Make sure it leaves, knowing you were beautiful, because you were broken. And in the breaking, you became gold. This is part 4. The gold is being poured. In part 5, we seal the masterpiece. Welcome back to the Forge.